All right. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. Um, we are so excited to join you today and are glad to welcome you to an introduction to the science curriculum, the first session of our summer symposium. My name is Cheryl Babin, and I'm here with Jess Archeski. Hello, Jess.
Hi.
And we're really excited to be able to offer you some resources, some ideas, just to a little boost to get you started. We hope that you've had a wonderful, restful, adventurous, or not kind of break, and that you're excited to get back into the classroom with your students. Um, Thank you for taking time out of your day today to join us on the Zoom, or if you're catching us in the recording, we are grateful that you will be able to come and join us. So thank you for that. You will notice on the slide that we have a QR code, or once you get into the deck, you'll have a link to the slide deck. And so grab the QR code if you want to, and you can follow along with us. We will also be posting it into the chat in the Zoom browser so that you can access the slides. We really do recommend that you capture the slides because it is chock full of links to resources that we think we've curated and designed in this package, especially for you. So we hope that you will grab the slides for that. Big thanks to Jess for being the heavy lifter of the resource gathering today. So thanks so much, Jess.
You're silly.
I'd just like to start with a land acknowledgement today. What you'll see in the background here on the screen is some beautiful footage of Alberta, our wonderful province. When I see this, it just makes me think about this, the diversity and the vastness of our country, but also of the land that on which we live and grow and play. And I am a visitor to this land. I live in Calgary and Jess lives in Irma. And so we are gathered here today from across Alberta. And the recording is happening today within Treaty 7, which is traditional Blackfoot territory. It's home to the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai nations, the Ithka Stoney Nakoda Nation, which includes the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. This incredible area is also home to the Tsuut'ina Nation and also the Otipemisiwak Métis government, who has designated through their own legislation the new boundaries, Métis Nation, where I'm coming to you from Alberta District 6. So I'm really hopeful that you had a chance to connect with the land and to really think about the Indigenous people who've cared for this land for time immemorial. And in the science curriculum, I think it's most pressing, most important that we do everything we can to make strong connections to the land and to show how important and how special that is with our students. And so we'd like to offer that to you today. This video comes without sound, and so if you would like to use it with your students, it offers beautiful footage. There's the three sisters for our Canmore friends, but it offers you beautiful footage, and if you would like to use this with your students, please do. It's yours for enjoying and admiring as well. So thanks for being with us today. Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
so
go ahead, Jess. Thank you.
we have, I just want to make sure everyone's gone in the chat box. I put it in a few different times. As soon as I see someone else has joined, I put it in again. But there is the link to the Google Slides in the chat box. We have 3 parts today. Part 1, we're going to focus on loving the learning, organizing ideas and the learner outcomes, planning strategies, getting into the background and the architecture of what we're going to look at when you're looking at the science curriculum. Part 2, we're going to talk about taking it outside. It's a passion of both of ours, but I would say the person who knows the most about it would be Cheryl, so she's going to take the lead with that. And then part 3, the high quality resources. This is something that we both kind of curated together. I think myself, I still teach part-time and I have my own classroom. I teach junior high, and so I realize it's a different world out there, and there's a lot of different tasks that are asked by teachers. And so if we can help you in any way, I think those resources will be the ticket. So okay, so let's start. When we talk about the science curriculum, you're going to notice that there's organizing ideas. You'll see those in the left-hand column. And what happens is that you will see it repeatedly throughout the K to 6 curriculum, which is really neat because you can build on concepts every year. You're going to see that there's essentially 7 organizing ideas in 4 to 6. Space is now introduced in grade 4. Scientific methods start in grade 1, living systems start in grade 1, but the idea of like matter is K to 6, energy is K to 6. And so from someone who I didn't have to teach space till grade 9 and I didn't learn it again, I love that it's brought all the way back to grade 4 now. So this is an insight to my odd brain. Um, I like to see that if you were to see all these organizing ideas, we have so many ways to teach computer science and scientific methods, but in my opinion, they work best if they're not taught separately. Think of them like salt and pepper, that you're going to sprinkle them on absolutely anything, on every day, every activity. They're the backbone of the entire curriculum. So you want to think of like teaching living systems, matter, earth systems, energy, and space, but then infusing computer science and scientific methods throughout. The link on the top right is just to help you. If you don't know where to begin, I would encourage you to click on that link and start there. It's just a sample version that APLC has created to help you with a year plan, and it's for every grade. In each one of these year plans, you're going to notice that computer science and scientific methods are the 2 organizing ideas at the bottom, and they are highlighted throughout the year. The rest of it, I would say it's your own discretion. They've left September open, and they have a little bit of overlap because sometimes, mid-January, you could end matter and start earth systems. But if you want to start earth systems when you can go outside more, you might want to do that in September or keep it till May or June. The other thing is you definitely could just start in September. Yeah. Sometimes people want to start other subjects and focus on reading in September and math, but you can definitely do whatever you wish. This is just a way to get you started.
Jess, if I could add as well, one of the
Yeah.
things that I have found to be really helpful is to first of all, you can also pull outcomes from multiple different organizing ideas. You don't have to treat them as one unit at a time, but also you could alternate between a science focused unit and then a social studies focused unit so that you're not doing them both at the same time. So you might want to integrate that way when you're thinking about your overarching long range plan. There's a lot going on, as you know, in those days and with your students. And so focusing on integrating ELAL into your science scope and sequence wherever possible is highly recommended. And as Jess said, scientific methods all the way through, as well as computer science. So we hope those are helpful. When we look at the organizing ideas, one of the things that we really want to focus on, the organizing ideas are like chapters of a book, right? And so it's sort of like the main ideas, these are the overarching, enduring topics of study that really fall into place. But when considering a design challenge or trying to think about what kinds of tasks and experiences you want to create for students in this way, We really want to create different investigations. We want to solve problems through scientific inquiry, and the integration of these throughout can really help to support your thinking and your planning. Earth systems and living systems have a lot of things that can be related. And so those two are color coded the same. But as always, we definitely want to see how ways that you can be efficient. We know that you need to be efficient, and we need to be effective in teaching through those learning outcomes. So we hope that that visual is helpful for you. Just wanted to take a little minute and make a special reference to scientific methods. First of all, many of us have a very ingrained idea of what a scientific method is. In fact, some of us maybe even wondered, what do you mean by scientific methods, like plural? Well, we think of, the hypothesis and your materials and just writing out a lab report, which is one approach to a scientific method, one of which would really kind of lean into that experimental aspect where you're changing variables, manipulating a variable, holding some control, that sort of thing. In the new curriculum, this is that experimental investigation is often highlighted in grade 5 and 6, but not really until then. Prior to that, in K-4, it's really about investigative science. And so the idea of looking at comparative or descriptive observation-based science, these are legitimate scientific methods. Our friends from the CBE, Calgary Board of Education, have also added to this idea that we also want to really incorporate oral stories and traditional teaching as an important and valued scientific method. When students are researching and gathering on data that's been collected by others through various means, through primary sources or additional sources, that's another legitimate scientific method. And of course, as I tried to share during our land acknowledgement, fostering and facilitating relationships with the land, with students, and helping them to grow and develop those, not only just a love for being outside and being connected to the land, but to show appreciation and care for it, allows them to be stewards of the land in that way. So please think about all of these as scientific methods that can support your process and your inquiry as you're designing. Another idea that you might want to use as a sample is an investigation cycle. So rather than an experiment cycle, it's the idea that you could go through a cycle of different things where asking questions and making observations is part of that work. We know that our questions are better after we have started to observe. That whole notion of like a KWL chart done at the very beginning of a unit is a testament to how students' questions are often fairly bland at that point because they don't have much to hook it to. They don't have a lot of things that they're really wondering about. It's only once they get into the investigation and they start making those observations and predictions do they start to say, oh yeah, wait a second, I really want to know about this. And so this sample here will show you some of the ways in which you can move through an investigative cycle or an observational investigation, but also to the lines through in that web-like structure remind us that it doesn't have to be linear, that it doesn't have to just be a one-way cycle that goes through different phases, but that actual science and the investigations, particularly with children, they're messier and you have to go back a little bit and you have to try things again. And so by making this visible with your students, it can really help to facilitate the idea that they are scientists and that they are doing real work that's valuable, just like the scientists in the world. So with that in mind, here is a little clip that will help us tune into the idea that young people are scientists always, and that they are using investigative science skills and observations. Join us for this little clip.
I have evidence that proves my dad's a space alien. He speaks a weird language. He drinks green stuff. He says he's from Albuquerque. I'm not buying it. I mean, just look at him. And one more thing, he has a spaceship. The evidence doesn't lie. My dad's an alien.
The highly advanced Audi A6, named to Car and Driver's 10 Best.
Those eyes at the end, like, yeah,
I have evidence that proves my dad's a space.
my dad is an alien. I love it. I hope you did too. When we use a provocation like this or a claim, this little one is claiming that her dad is an alien. There's a great thinking routine that you can use to support scientific thinking in this way. And the routine is claim, evidence, reasoning, or CER. And this graphic organizer can walk us through what that looks like a little bit here. So the question, who is my dad? The claim, my dad is a space alien. And then we have to say, okay, you think he's an alien. What's your proof? As a scientist, what's your evidence? And so she provided that evidence. He speaks a weird language. He dresses weird and he drinks green liquids. So then we're asked to, the students are then asked to provide a reason for that. It's important because aliens are not from Earth, so they do not speak English. There's a justification for that evidence. And so this graphic organizer is something that can support you in thinking through some of the investigations and the predictions that students will make, and can maybe have some fun doing it. So we hope that you will find use for this thinking routine in your work.
Cheryl, a quick question. Sarah in the chat box was asking where would we access the session later? And I said, I believe it's going to be put up on the APLC website. Is there any?
Yes, and I think, Sarah, if you've registered for it or if you have colleagues that have registered for it, they will also receive an email link of it
An email,
afterwards. Okay. Yeah, so we want to make sure that this is as easy to find as possible. And again, we thank you for joining and hope there'll be a few good tips in it for you. Mm-hmm.
The next thing, Cheryl, Michelle was asking about your previous slide with the claim, evidence, reasoning, and how beneficial would it be, or how early could it be used?
Thanks for your great question, Michelle. I have done this with students as young as kindergarten, walking them through it, of course, and starting to use the language about claim. Claim is your idea. Claim is your, your statement, your opinion, and changing those words so that kids might make connections and develop that language, that scientific inquiry language. And so, in terms of having them write through all of these things, it can also be done with drawing pictures and attaching, just as kids are starting to attach letter sounds to words in K and 1 and 2, that they would be able to justify and talk through some of these stages. So I would walk through it with students in grade 1 or kinder and 1 by starting with the question, the claim, and the evidence. What's your evidence and how do you support that? You can add the reasoning level as students grow a little bit to become more capable of justifying their work either in a visual or in writing. But I think that talking through those things can also be really telling for us as teachers when we're trying to gather evidence of their learning. As we know, we can often learn more from what they say about something than what they're able to write. So I hope that helps a little bit, Michelle. Thanks for your
Cheryl.
question. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we've also added in here for you is a little bit of, we wanted to add the design cycle and design thinking into the process of an investigative science cycle. The one piece that I like in this particular design thinking cycle is up here at the top, the empathy, developing an understanding of the user or the problem that students are trying to solve. And that offers it offers that sort of humanity, that piece into the science that really can connect to the problem and what it is that we want students to develop. Like, how can we use our skills to make the world a little bit of a better place for others? And so thinking about that empathy and trying to weave that into the scientific investigations can be really powerful. This is a video that we're going to leave here for you as one of the links as a wonderful resource. It's a John Spencer video. It's just a few minutes long, but it talks about design thinking in a student-friendly way. You notice it's from K to 12. The ideas really transition between grade levels seamlessly, and I think that you'll find it really useful. But we also have so many things to share, so we're going to try and be careful with our time. I hope that's all right for you.
Design.
When we get to the resource section, we are going to offer you lots of different resources for computer science. But when we think about how to weave that into your practice, we wanted to offer a couple of different resources that could show this to you. There's a simple, well, not a simple, but a fairly user-friendly, easy for young students and older to use called Scratch and Scratch Junior. And so the idea that you could weave different organizing ideas in with computer science can really come alive when you use it for different ideas like recycling. So coming into the Earth systems and the idea of matter. You can also look at this one up here. It's a Scratch coding challenge that's connected to space. So once space starts as an organizing idea in grade 4, 5, and 6, you might be able to integrate those concepts together. There's also an image here of a book that might be familiar to some. It's called Rosie's Walk. It's an older book, pretty basic premise. The chicken Rosie's trying to get away from the fox. And so the idea is with this book, it's a very literal way of showing that Rosie has to make some adjustments to her route to get to safety. And what we've created for you here that you might want to take a hold of is a grid with steps, and students then have to, you can make your own digital version, but the students have to describe, one step in this direction or to the right or up or, to the north or east, south, west, however you want to organize the language, but creating that step-by-step clarity with your instructions is actually what the computer science curriculum is asking of students in the early grades. And so you don't always need to use a tool like Scratch Junior or one of the many others that we'll share with you a little bit later. But we wanted to show you that there are some ways that you can do this with paper and arrows laying out on the floor in your classroom with the students to walk through different experiences, or making step patterns as you're walking down the hall, or there's so many more ideas of ways that you can do that, and we'll talk a bit more about some of those then. But here's a downloadable version of Rosie's Walk. This is a more digital tool that can also help weave in some of the computer science, the decomposition, and it's basically like early steps to programming, where you're creating the foundations for coding. And so this is a tool called it's a Gizmo, which is available on New Learn Alberta as a resource, free for teachers in Alberta once you log into your New Learn Alberta account. And so this is an example of one, and it's called, it's a Mars rover, and it's moving around, and you can use the blocks over here to code and to create a code that will allow this rover to move around the barriers. And so we have some tools that can help you get into that in a little bit here, but just to show you that there are some things available.
So the first time I saw the curriculum, I felt that it was pretty clear what the intention was. And I personally felt like with the guiding questions and the organizing ideas, the beginning stages of project-based learning was definitely the foundation. I consider project-based learning like a beacon of light. So I'm an over planner, and I like to always know what I'm doing today, but tomorrow and the next unit, and what we're doing at the end of the year. And so the idea is, I know now what I want the kids to be able to do at the end. When we're doing project-based learning, we know where we want them to get to. And so it helps with the planning of what's going to go until then and get us to the end. And so it helps us tie in the activities. It helps us plan lessons day to day. And it helps us get to that goal. If we can go to the next slide, we have the idea of how to develop ideas for a project. So with project-based learning, we want to think of where students collaborate to solve a problem in the real world, where students learn concepts and they apply them to their projects. So when you're trying to look at the curriculum and come up with an idea for a project, there's several questions that you can ask yourself. It's right there with the graphics. So we want to start with considering your scope. So how much time do you want to spend on this, and what curricular objectives are you going to put into this? We want to think about, we have all the foundations. Well, you know, what materials do we need? What space do we need? Do we need any extra support from our division or district? We want to talk about what's relevant and interesting for your students. This is also probably an avenue that could be motivating. I always joke about, coming from a junior high perspective, this motivational aspect is incredibly important. So in my grade 7 classroom, I have trophies that they compete for, because bragging rights is everything in junior high. But I'm lucky enough to be a parent volunteer in my son's kindergarten classroom, and the motivational aspect is not an issue. Everyone is just so excited to do everything. So I think it's pretty fun how that changes throughout the years, right? And lastly, to consider the community aspect and see if there's someone that can come and guest speak or talk about it. That would be really fun to include the community into it. I
Awesome.
would like to
Thank you.
mention, I should probably make my shameless plug, Cheryl, about my AI. I have experience with using AI to create project-based learning ideas. So if you're interested, join me again at 2:30 today. I'm working with Ted, and I have lots of PBL ideas that I've created using a various chat and Eduade and Magic School, all these different AI tools.
Not shameless at all. It's a tool that we really need to take advantage of and use as an assistant, in addition to our brilliant teacher brains, as you know, right?
Yes.
Sometimes we think that project-based learning has to be massive. I know that over the years, we've worked in lots of classrooms, worked with lots of teachers. I've been a classroom teacher for, I think this is my 30th school year, so that's a long time. But the idea that it can also be something that you do over a course of a few days or a few lessons. It doesn't have to be a year long, or it can be if you're in for that. Sometimes when you do go to Jess's AI session later and you want to think about what kinds of ideas might come up, it's also helpful to sometimes see what student products of learning could look like prior to that. And so what might that end goal look like? And so these two columns here, PBL Works, the Buck Institute for Education has been focusing on project-based learning for a very long time. And they have some great tools and resources, but also some good questions. You know, here's one: how can we keep our communities safe and prepared for natural hazards? And so weaving in learning outcomes into compelling questions that are real problems. And so, you know, to be systematic and to think with empathy and with compassion about how do we use our scientific prowess to solve some real life problems. Here's also some examples that we've pulled for you, but this Models of Excellence site, and each of these are links that can be useful to you as you are soaking up a little bit more of the sunshine. Do this in your backyard or on your balcony when you can, before things get too busy. This document here is also it's a frame for innovation and critical thinking. This comes from the Critical Thinking Consortium. And these ideas are ways to consider framing the learning. So getting students to judge better or best. So for example, which is the best weather system monitoring in order for your location in Calgary? Or can you design an electrical invention that will perform this certain task? Or can you create something useful that, can you create a song that will explain the water cycle? Can you recreate or curate a museum of artifacts that represents how matter and movement actually work? And how the energy forces are involved there. And so there's a few different frames here that thanks to the brilliant work of the people at TC Squared, you can use these to help get you going with your thinking as well. So hopefully those are helpful to you. I'm gonna just take a deep breath there. I see some comments and yeah, thank you for your feedback. I just always want to check in and make sure we're doing something useful for you. We want to talk for a minute about vocabulary. And when you look at the curriculum as teachers, we often think, okay, there's a lot of not just skill-based language that come in the verbs, but also the different, when we make a link to what we know about tiered words, typically found in your EAL curriculum, but tier 1 words are those that are encountered day to day. And so when we think about that from a science perspective, those are things like north and south, or opposite, or strength, increase, interactions. We want to highlight those, use them orally, put them on the wall, use them often, and say, oh, I can see, you know, I can see that you're standing opposite of something else in the lineup. You know, try to weave those in. My summer brain did not make a good example of that one, but I think you know what I mean. Polysemous words are those that have an everyday meaning and a scientific meaning. So something like attract or repel or relevant models. So these are words that are used in scientific contexts as well as everyday language. Tier 2 words are those that are important across many science topics. And then tier 3 words are specific to a science inquiry or to a very specific one. And so there's a couple of links here that can help you with some of those verbs. And our team at APLC also created a glossary for you. And the reason that we find this useful is to show it's so that we all have clarity around what we mean when we say discuss. And so the definition is supported there. And then we've also cited where they're found within the skills and procedures and also into the learning outcomes. And so this glossary it pulls vocabulary from K to 6, and we think that that will be useful as well. So really being explicit to teach that language to students can really support them in developing their understandings and being able to achieve the learning outcomes. Jess, do you have anything to add about the science vocabulary?
I think you covered it all. You're the pro.
Oh, maybe the verbose pro. I don't know about pro, but okay, friends, this is an oxymoron for sure, but let's take it outside. We're on Zoom sitting inside, but nonetheless, I'd like to share with you some resources that we hope will be really helpful. I was able to collaborate on multiple occasions with my friend Andrea Barnes, who works for Alberta Parks. And together we've created a couple of different resources, one of which is linked here for you, that provides ample opportunities for ways that you can tackle the learning outcomes within all of the organizing ideas while being outside with your students. And so actually, Jess, could I bother you please to pop the link to the outdoor resource into the chat for everyone, just in case it's easier to get to, or else grab that QR code while we're here. Thank you. All right. Are you good? Can I move on to the next slide?
Yeah.
Thank you. One of the things that we talk about in our outdoor learning experiences is the concept of phenology. And don't be shy or worried if this is not a term that you were familiar with, because I think that it's common for us not to be familiar with it. Phenology is the study of cycles and seasonal natural phenomenon, especially in relation to climate and plant and animal life. And so in this circle, which I think is beautiful, you can see the seasons, but also I love that so often our calendars are very linear, you know, and then you rip off the page and it's gone, or you move it along, you scroll up, so to speak. But for young students to think about seasonal changes as a cycle in a circle or a visual, I think is really powerful. Well, if we dip into the idea of phenology, we can actually tackle a lot of curriculum from K to 6. We can look at seasonal changes, time and sequence of events, patterns, observations, senses. I'm not going to read all of these words to you, but I just pulled out different things from learning outcomes, knowledge, understanding, skills, and procedures from all of these different grades, including in 4, 5, and 6. And so all of these things that we can observe and capture while looking outside, while getting out there, you know, we talked about a possible scope and sequence at the beginning of our session today. And one of the things that we would really recommend is creating a sit spot for your students outside, where you go every 2 or 3 weeks for 20 minutes, and they make observations about the land and what's happening in their little specific spot. Maybe they have a favorite tree, or maybe they find a little spot where they can consistently try to capture and record evidence of what's happening in those natural cycles. This image on the right-hand side is one class's documentation of some of their observations and tracking the season. So on May 10th was the first time they saw the buds on this particular tree popping. Or here's a crocus that showed up on April 20th, or the first time that they saw this. And so by capturing these and tracking it over time, and you can even add to the previous year's work, and so that students are like, oh yeah, we really won this year. We saw the first robin of the spring, or there's that competitive edge Jess was talking about, right? It's all about when they're noticing these different things happening. But I have some friends that live in Canmore, and we get to work with them sometimes. And those students like to add in when the ice cream bus shows up in Canmore, and they track the date on their phenology charts, which I thought was pretty adorable. And actually worth knowing, like, let's face it, right? So there's also a lot of digital tools and ways that you can involve your class in being a scientific contributor. And so these are all links to iNaturalist, a plant count. Seek offers this, and eBird, a chance to show what you're seeing out there in the world, and add those facts into a real scientific data set, a body of knowledge, and that is shared and communicated in the science world. A wonderful connection to Indigenous ways of knowing and learning can be found in the Blackfoot New Winter Robe Count. And here you can see captured here are all of these symbols representing the phenology and the cycles that they have observed over time. And so if you're interested in the winter count on this buffalo hide design, there's a couple of links here that can support your students in that exploration as well. We've made a copy of a possible phenological calendar that you might want to start with. You can look at weather, plants and animals, waste, thinking about matter, caring for the land. You might not be teaching all of these grades, although some of you might have all of them together as well. But you can map it out over the course of the year. You can put it into a circular model like this one. These are there for you if you'd like to give it a try. We've also seen ones that take up an entire wall in a classroom or a hallway, so that they can document and grow their observations with and fill the documentation of those amazing observations along the way. So while the outdoor resource has so many more things for you in there, we decided to focus on phenology as a way of weaving in through your scope and sequence and building the scientific skills, the investigation skills, observation, conversations about them, making predictions, asking questions, all of those good things. So we hope that this will be useful. While you're outside, we would highly recommend teaching nature journaling to your students, whatever age grade. As an adult, this is also a wonderfully relaxing thing that I think all of us as teachers really need at times. This is a resource by John Muir Laws, which is absolutely exceptional. His strength in nature journaling, he's really broken it down into manageable, tangible pieces. So for each entry, he asks that we use pictures, words, and numbers. And you can see how it elevates what might be captured in scientific thinking. And even for kindergarten, our youngest learners, they start with drawing what they see, and then we help to capture some of that language and numbers by recording dates and temperatures and times and using these labels. So this is a free download. You just have to sign up. I promise they don't send you anything that you don't want, but you can actually download the entire book, which is an absolute gift. So don't leave the Zoom and do that yet, but because we're not quite done, but we hope you will enjoy that. Throughout the rest of the resource package, you'll see that we go into sit spots and things you can do there, weather and water experiments and investigations, in simulations and games that you can play. Plants and animals are often connected in the curriculum, so you'll see that oftentimes there's an outcome or a skill and procedure or a knowledge piece that talks about both of them changing. So we've got lots of games and things in there that you can play with your students to get them outside and active. And then also we really want to think about how do we teach and support the idea of stewardship and reciprocity. And so there'll be some ideas for you in the resource package. Thank you, Jess, for posting that in the chat again. And now I turn it over to you. Go ahead, Jess.
Drum roll, please. No. Actually, you get to talk a little bit more about your Learn Alberta. You have the fancy slides, remember?
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, so New Learn Alberta. If you are new to teaching in Alberta or if you happen to be a brand new teacher, you might not yet have a New Learn Alberta account. One of the best ways to find connected resources that have been curated for you through the New Learn Alberta site is to log in to your New Learn Alberta account. We will post in the chat for you a PDF if you don't have a Learn Alberta account, and that will tell you how to get there. Then what you want to do is go log into once you're into your account, you hover over the green learning outcome, and you'll notice that it gives you a share button and a little eye, the letter I, not an eyeball. When you hover over that eye, you will get what's called a flyout, and it pops open to a box that looks like this. And across the middle, you'll see the cusps, resources, competency progressions, literacy progressions, and numeracy progressions. If you click on resources, it will automatically pull from all of the resource bank in New Learn anything that's directly connected to that learning outcome. And so it's a super slick and fast way of finding what's available. So on this one, for example, in students investigating how forces can act on objects without contact, this is just a little screenshot, but you can see that there's a gizmo, there's some literature, books specific. Some of them are interactive books that students can use on iPads or Chromebooks or whatever it is you happen to have in your classroom. So that's a quick way of getting into New Learn. Thank you, Jess. You're the master of the chat today. The other place that you can find resources on New Learn is in the boards section. And so here's a screenshot. Once you're into New Learn, you can see that I'm signed in. My name is up here. And you can access the boards on the left-hand side in the gray menu. At the bottom, there's the link to boards. This little lock is open because I'm signed in. So if you don't see boards, it's possible that you're not signed in. Then what I would recommend is that you select the subject that you're looking for use this filter. It's very helpful. And I would also select all boards up here to get the best overarching view. And there's also a helpful tool where you can heart your faves, and to sort them and see your favorites, there's a little toggle button right here where you turn on your favorites, and then it keeps track of all the ones that you've captured. Our team at APLC is working to create boards as well. Alberta Education is supporting us with boards that are specific to curriculum. And now I pass it over to you.
Okay, so with the consortium, we have our newish website, revamped website, I think is what they're describing it as. And I would strongly encourage clicking on this link. There are so many resources that are on our website, and you're also going to see, you can search there we go. Sorry, I was distracted. I was like, what are we looking at? So currently there's 531 resources. You can see that. But if you're focusing on science, there's a drop-down menu. You just click science. And let's say you're doing grade 4, you would click grade, and you'd specific to the grade you want. You also, and then you can scroll, and there's 33 for just, right? Pretty neat. There's some sessions, like recordings, that you could watch. There's some resources that you can implement in your classroom. There's a plethora. It's truly remarkable, and they're always adding new stuff. So I think that's also really, really important, is to keep checking back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anything you
thank
want to
you.
add, Cheryl?
No, I love that you say they, but you are they. Yes.
I've submitted a
Yes.
few. Yeah.
Yes, we're working hard, and always want to collaborate with you. So thanks for your support in that. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh boy, my least favorite slide.
It's my favorite slide. There's Jess. Yeah. We wanted to highlight one particular resource collection within, if you go into the Explore Resources on New Learn Alberta, and you see that you can also go into resource collections. Gizmos is one that we wanted to highlight because of the focus on science. And Jess is making reference to some and has some in the coming slides, but we also just wanted to show you that you could browse through them and take a look at what's available. Mostly these are applicable to grades 3 through 6, but they can also be accessed by students younger if that's what you want to link to your curriculum.
Okay. So I believe this is when I'm gonna swap the sharing, hey?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Replace current share
We
this
love to
one.
hear your stream of consciousness while you're doing that.
I'm very good at narrating my life.
Please, I encourage you to add any questions into the chat as we're going, if there's anything that you need, and we're here with you.
Yes, please. Okay, so does everyone see my screen? Cheryl, do you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So
No,
I
no.
have created.
Sorry, Jess.
Oh, yeah.
If you could please, could you try again and share your entire desktop?
Oh, yeah. Entire screen, share.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So I have made 7 presentations, And this is just a little insight into my organized little brain. But I thought that I could help the most amount of teachers in our session today by making one specific for you. So depending on what grade you are teaching or multiple grades you're teaching, you could click on each of these slide decks. So I'm just going to go through 5 today. Okay. Does everyone see it?
Yeah, coming through fine. Thank you.
Okay, good. So with the grade 5 specifically, you're going to see very similar organization throughout all the presentations. The gizmo, oh, my pictures didn't show up, sorry. The gizmo instructions or how to access gizmos for K-6 teachers, please click that guide link. The gizmos typically are designed for 3 to 6. So if you are a K1-2 teacher and you don't see the slide, that's why. That being said, it's a great tool that you could use for some kids that need some challenge in those younger grades. I know my son last year in grade 2 played or did a few gizmos. He called them played gizmos. So that's always a good indication of how much they enjoyed. The next suggestion I would give you, this is from Cheryl, the link to the catalog from the Alberta Science Curriculum from the United Library Services. And it is, I believe it's like 28 pages of suggested books that hit the curriculum for K-6. So please check that out. Now, this next slide, slide 4, I created mostly so you know where to go to keep checking for updated resources. The stuff that I had created or that I have found and put on the upcoming slides are up to date as of last night. However, there's always new ones being created. And so these are the websites primarily that I kept checking in order to put it on your specific slide deck. Computer science. So this is specific links for grade 5 computer science. The first one I'd like to point out you're going to see throughout is the APLC grade 5 CPAR document. Now with that, it goes right to the website and then you would download a document and it links resources for each CUSP. So it's really well organized. The CS Unplugged is another website. I love it mostly because it is not using a computer to teach computer science. So this would be a website I would strongly recommend. The Robotics Playground is a website that has been created and she goes through and she talks about different tech. If your school or your board was to go and buy tech, which robot would they suggest depending on your needs and your grades? So that was a cool one. A bunch of different ones, Hour of Code, Kidlo, code.org. I hope you fall down the rabbit hole and enjoy it because it'll take a long time to decide what you want to do, not because of a stressful situation, but because of the options, which is something that you don't always hear when you get a new curriculum. So, this slide links to slide decks that help tie in each of the organizing ideas to computer science. So if you remember back at the beginning of this presentation, we talked about how computer science and scientific methods are like the backbone of the curriculum, and it's like salt and pepper. You sprinkle it onto anything and everything every day. So these are 5 different presentations that help you give tangible examples of how you could marry both computer science and the organizing idea you're currently teaching. Scientific methods, there's some general info from APLC that could help you get your toes wet. And then, of course, there's these gizmos. The gizmos, remember, there's a link at the beginning of your grade 5 or whatever slide deck to show you how to access your gizmos through Learn Alberta. You just need to make a free account. Now, I should say that it's free for K to 6 teachers. Myself that teach or taught junior high, my school had bought the bought the Gizmo access, or the, what is it, the login information for the year. But and then on the right hand side, I have little bins for Little Hands and Science Buddies. These are two of my favorite websites that if you're really having trouble finding something for a certain activity, I have used both of these websites for my own house. Just, I have 3 little boys at home, for activities for them, but I've also replaced like older activities in density for grade 8 with activities that I found on these websites. So there's a range on both of them that I really enjoy, and I think it'll really help you out.
Excuse me, Jess, there's a
Yeah.
question in the chat.
Oh, yes.
Please, could you repeat the name of the website that teaches computer science without computers?
That would be CS First, or CS Unplugged, sorry.
Yeah, Computer Science Unplugged, right? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
CS Unplugged, yes. And I have to speak to that. I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of information that when I was helping various teachers in various grades for computer science without a computer, the teacher taught me something where she just put it into Google and it linked you. There's so much stuff up there. It's just using the right technology and the right words to find that. How ironic is you need to use the right technology to find the non-tech ideas, but yeah. And Rosie's Walk, absolutely. Yes. Where was I? Okay, so Edmonton Catholic School Board have these lovely curriculum crates. I would strongly recommend checking out. Oh, I skipped one. Sorry. The Mystery Matter mission, project-based learning idea, is something that I have created for a friend of mine teaching grade 5. It's on the APLC website. It's published on there, and it is something that I got the initial idea through using AI, and a lot of the activities I got through Eduade. And so if you're interested with that, I can truly help you out with that. But it's just a demonstration of how you can incorporate all the different cusps throughout the different organizing ideas together. The gizmos, Edmonton curriculum crates, if you click on that, it'll go to these awesome ideas that are totally linked into the curriculum. The gizmos, we previously showed you on an earlier slide how to log in. So just make sure if you need any help, go back to that guide on how to log in. And then of course, tying in computer science to Matter, there's the states of water activity in Scratch. With grade 5 energy, I always try and start with the APLC presentation, helping you implement grade 5 energy. There's a lot of great information there. Edmonton Catholic has the curriculum crates. Everything But a Boat was so cool. And the flight analysis is also so amazing on tying in those different cusps. Grade 5 energy is a really large organizing idea, and so it takes a lot of information or a lot of different ideas to cover it. The Makey Makey, if you haven't played around with the Makey Makey, it is really, really neat. I have a few in my classroom. There's also, if you were to search up microbits, there's a lot of activities that tie this in. Okay, sorry. Yes. I was just reading your comment, Cheryl.
I'm just coaching along the way.
Yeah, that's good. I'm now on slide 10 for grade 5, and we're talking about grade 5 living systems. Again, there's a presentation to help implement living systems. There's also 2 projects that I personally have developed, and they're published on the APLC website. So the Living Systems Plant Cusp and the Living Systems Class Activities and Project Idea. I can speak to the fact that my friend was a teacher, and so we had kind of created this together, and I had planned all these activities. But the really fun part was that my son was in the class too, so I got to hear the other side of it, and he was just buzzing about how fun it was. The Living Systems in grade 5 starts talking about body systems, which is a true passion of mine. And so with this in grade 5, the teacher actually got me to bring in my pre-dissected heart, and we had gloves, and the kids just thought it was so cool to see the difference between the atria and the ventricles and all the things. So if you have that opportunity, you know, stretch it, right? Get the kids to touch a heart. It's fun. With the curriculum crate, there's 2 really good activities there. And these, each bullet is a link. So if you click on it, it'll take you somewhere. There's the 2 gizmos. Both of these gizmos are gizmos I also use in grade 8. So they are a stretch. And I know my friend in Bio 20 uses it as an introductory activity. So they're amazing, and it's just, you can look at the more basic view, or you can test how much oxygen and carbon dioxide are in the blood. So I really wouldn't recommend. Those 2 gizmos are probably some of my favorite. And sometimes, you know, we have issues where we need to leave right away and we need something for the kids to do, and you want it to be curricular linked. And the Magic School Bus, both episodes work out so well. And those are links to the YouTube, I believe. But it's a fun little break, even if it's a lunch break or a rainy day, you know. Kids Health is a website in general that I really enjoyed because it was age appropriate, I would find, for information. And then, of course, there's another computer science linked activity in Scratch. On the lower right-hand side is a board game that I actually created. And the board game, it's just 4 in a row, but the kids really enjoyed it because some of them are designed to cause turmoil and conversation that yeah, so check it out. It took a little bit more time to prep, but I had some grade 8 kids coming in at lunch and asking if they could play 4 in a row, which I felt like was a win. When we talk about grade 5 Earth systems, again, there's the APLC presentation to help you implement it. I would always recommend checking that out first because there's so many resources even in that presentation. The curriculum crates, 2 of them are really, really neat. The Minecraft one, I've heard from multiple teachers that have used it, that it was really well received by the grade 5 students. And then the 2 gizmos, sometimes Earth systems is tough to teach because it's such a big thing, but you can just go and experience it, which is so fun. So the observing weather gizmo, I'm a little bit of a fair weather girl, and so I personally would plan Earth systems to be in the fall or the spring. I wouldn't really want to teach this in January when it's -40 and we have to go experience the weather, but that's just a little aside. The grade 5 space, there are presentations from Red Deer Regional, and they have an amazing presentation and workbook guide that they have created. The Edmonton Catholic have 2 links there that are amazing. I would strongly recommend checking those out too. Yeah, wear a really good coat. That's right. And the gizmos, I think more than anything else, space is really well understood if you use a gizmo or 2. It's a hard thing to explain, and so I feel like those digital visual things that you can get the kids to experience, and then they can rewind it and play it again, and they really start to understand what's going on above their head. And last but not least, this amazing website, Infusing Indigenous Knowledge. I have incorporated a link for every grade in every slide deck, and it's resources on how you can tie in Indigenous knowledge into your everyday practice. So there we go. I hope you guys are already falling down the rabbit hole and clicking and clicking and clicking and saving, and I hope everyone's getting something out of this. If you could, we do have an APLC post-session survey. Whew, I didn't know that was an alliteration till right now. But if you don't mind, Cheryl and I would love to hear feedback. That's how we learn what you need and what you want and how we could further assist you. So if you could click the survey or scan the QR code, I have been told it's very short. I also have been told it's the same survey for all the sessions. So if you're attending sessions later today or on another day this week, it's the same survey, right, Cheryl?
It is, yeah. And well, we would invite you to reach out at any time if there's questions that you have, or if you're looking for an elbow partner to talk through some things. Sometimes we benefit from the gift of having more than one teacher at a certain grade level in your school, and sometimes you're the only one. And so reach out if you need to. We're good brokers. We can match, we're like matchmakers, and we can support you in lots of different ways. So thank you for joining us today. I'm going to stop the recording, but we will hang out if anyone would like to ask any questions or say hello. Thank you again for being here today, and I hope you have a wonderful start to your school year.